Do you believe in four-legged superheroes? Listen to the story below and you just might change your mind. Ravenwood was a small town tucked between dark green hills and endless forests. People often called it the sleeping land because life here moved slowly. Nothing remarkable ever happened except for a few autumn festivals and weekend markets. But behind its peaceful facade, a shadow had begun to creep in. Within 3 months, Ravenwood suffered a string of strange fires. At first it was just an abandoned cabin by the woods, then a warehouse, then even a small shop downtown. People whispered that someone wanted to burn Ravenwood piece by piece, but the police couldn't find a single clue. Emily, a woman in her 40s, returned to Ravenwood with her husband Michael and their young son Jacob. They hoped the quiet town would give Jacob a break from city life and school pressure. But they never imagined their vacation would turn into a nightmare. On their first night, Jacob woke to frantic barking echoing from afar. Pressing his face to the window, he saw flames rising in the woods. Black smoke curled upward like a dragon, shrieking in the wind. Sirens wailed, ripping through the silence. Michael rushed out with neighbors. People shouted, "Another fire!" Could it really be a coincidence? Emily clutched Jacob tightly, her heart racing. In her eyes was a fear she couldn't name. Morning. News spread across town. The burned cabin had been abandoned, but inside investigators found strange charcoal markings on the walls. The local police had no explanation. That was when the state police sent in a special unit. Leading them was Officer John Miller, and walking beside him, a silent warrior. A German Shepherd K9 named Rex was striking. Tall, powerful, his black and tan coat glistening, eyes sharp as blades. Every step radiated discipline, carrying the weight of duty. Strapped to his body was a tactical K9 harness with bold letters, K9 Unit. Jacob stared in awe, whispering, "Dad, that dog looks like a superhero." Michael smiled, ruffling his son's hair. "Maybe he is. More crimes than you think have been solved by heroes on 4 legs. Miller wasted no time. He and Rex inspected the fire site. Within minutes, Rex lowered his nose, sniffed intensely, then suddenly pulled forward, barking sharply toward a narrow trail into the woods. Miller noted, RX had detected more than smoke. There were traces of chemicals, accelerants. The townsfolk murmured, "So it was arson?" But why? And who would dare target Ravenwood? Emily's grip tightened around Michael's hand. Her instincts screamed their family was about to be dragged into something terrible. From a distance, Jacob's eyes followed Rex. In that loyal, powerful figure, the boy didn't just see a police dog. He saw a savior, like the heroes he had always dreamed about. What he didn't know was that soon, he himself would be the one Rex would have to save. 1 week later, tension thickened in Ravenwood. The townspeople whispered about the mystery, arsonist, while the police remained stuck. Only Miller and RX kept working relentlessly. That afternoon, Jacob begged his parents to let him ride his bike with some neighbor kids. Michael hesitated, but Emily finally nodded. Let him go. He deserves a little freedom. Jacob grinned, pedaling away, his old bicycle squeaking down the street. But dark clouds rolled in suddenly. The air carried that all-too-familiar smoky scent. Michael's stomach twisted. He dashed out to find his son. At the forest's edge, he froze. Jacob's bicycle lay on the ground, one wheel still spinning slowly. The boy was gone. Emily's scream shattered the air. Neighbors and police rushed in. Flashlights and patrol car beams slashed through the trees. Voices echoed, calling Jacob's name. But the forest gave nothing back except the moan of the wind. Miller snapped his fingers and Rex leapt forward. The dog charged ahead, nose pressed to the ground, until he stopped suddenly at a charred tree. Stump. Growling, Rex barked furiously, digging into the soil. Miller's eyes narrowed. Drag marks, and chemicals again. This isn't just a missing child. He was taken. Emily collapsed, tears streaming. My baby. They've taken him. The next day was torture. Emily barely ate or slept, clutching Jacob's blanket in silence. Michael studied the half-burned map left in Jacob's room, a cruel clue the kidnapper had planted. Miller visited them, with Rex sitting loyally at his side. The dog's piercing gaze lingered on Jacob's empty chair, as if he too felt the absence. "We will find him," Miller promised. Emily whispered, "But what if it's already too late?" Miller placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "As long as Rex is with me, we don't stop." Jacob wasn't just a missing child. He was the target of something bigger, something that tied to Ravenwood's darkest secrets. And Rex was the only light guiding them closer. News of Jacob's abduction spread like wildfire. Ravenwood erupted in anger. Citizens marched to City Hall shouting for protection. Yet all they got from officials was silence. That night, Miller sat with Michael on the porch. Rex lay at their feet, ears twitching. Michael muttered, voice hoarse, "I'll do anything, if it means saving my boy." Miller met his eyes, then looked at Rex. "Then you'll have to be braver than ever." "But I believe we can. Rex will lead us." The wind swept through the darkened streets, carrying the lingering stench of smoke. Ravenwood was no longer the quiet town it once was. It was bleeding from the inside. And into that wound a four-legged warrior was about to march into a fight for life and death. The day after Jacob's disappearance, Ravenwood was hushed. Shops kept their doors shut. Parents pulled their children inside before sunset. The town felt like it was holding its breath. Michael hadn't slept. His eyes were red from scanning the burned half-map over and over. Emily sat by the window, unmoving, as if expecting Jacob to suddenly appear from the shadows. Officer Miller arrived early, Rex at his side. The dog's ears pricked the moment it stepped into the yard, nose twitching. Rex pulled toward the woods. Miller looked at Michael. "He's got something. We follow." The three of them trudged into the forest, branches snapping underfoot. Rex led with precision, every movement purposeful. After half an hour, he stopped, pawing at a mound of leaves. Miller crouched, brushing the dirt aside, revealing a hidden trapdoor. The wood was scorched at the edges, as if fire had once licked across it, but never consumed it. On its surface, faint symbols had been carved, a closed eye circled in black soot. Emily gasped. What is that?" Miller's jaw tightened. "A mark. Someone wants us to know this is deliberate." He ran his fingers along the edge of the hatch. Cold air seeped through the cracks, carrying with it the metallic tang of rust and something else. "Chemicals. This isn't just kidnapping," Miller muttered. "It's bigger," Michael whispered, voice trembling. "And Jacob's down there?" Rex growled low, ears pinned back, as if answering for him. That night, under the cover of darkness, Miller returned with Michael. Emily insisted on coming, but Miller shook his head. "It's dangerous. Stay. If we don't return, call for help." Emily's eyes filled with tears, but she kissed Michael's forehead. "Bring our boy back." The trapdoor creaked open. A breath of cold, damp air escaped like the exhale of some ancient beast. Miller clipped a flashlight to his vest. Rex patted down first, unafraid. The tunnel was narrow, the walls lined with old stone and rusted beams. Water dripped steadily, echoing through the dark. Michael followed close, his heart pounding. Rex led them confidently, nose brushing the ground, sometimes stopping to sniff the air, then pushing forward. Suddenly, the dog froze. Hackles raised, a growl rumbling from his chest. Miller swung his light ahead. Footprints. Dozens of them. Bare feet, boots. Some fresh, some smeared in mud. They branched in different directions like veins of a labyrinth. Michael whispered, "Which way?" Miller crouched beside Rex. "Find him, boy." The German shepherd sniffed along each path, then barked sharply, pulling to the left. Miller trusted him instantly. For hours they wound through twisting corridors. Symbols were scrawled on the walls. Charcoal drawings of eyes, flames, and chains. The deeper they went, the thicker the chemical stench became. At last, they entered a cavernous chamber. Torches flickered along the walls. In the center lay metal crates stamped with faded government insignias. Miller brushed off the dust. Hazardous material. Chemical storage. Michael staggered back. My God, this is what they've been hiding? Before Miller could answer, Rex barked furiously. From the darkness, a shadow moved. Figures emerged, faces hidden behind soot-stained masks. Their leader stepped forward, voice muffled but cold. You shouldn't have come here. Miller drew his weapon, Michael clutching a rusted pipe he had grabbed from the ground. Rex stood between them, teeth bared, growling deep and low. The masked men circled, torches casting monstrous shadows on the walls. One lunged at Michael. Rex leapt, jaws clamping onto the attacker's arm, dragging him down with a snarl. The chamber erupted into chaos. Miller fired a warning shot, the sound booming through the cavern. Back off. The leader only laughed, raising a torch. You think you can stop us? Ravenwood's secrets are older than you can imagine. Then he hurled the torch at a crate. Flames licked at the metal, smoke filling the chamber. Miller cursed, pulling Michael back. We can't fight here. If those crates ignite, we're all dead. Jacob, Michael screamed. Where is my son? The leader tilted his head. Alive, for now. But if you want him, you'll have to play our game. Smoke choked the air. The masked figures melted into the tunnels, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. When the smoke cleared, Miller and Michael were alone. Rex whimpered, pawing at the ground. He nudged a scrap of cloth, Jacob's shirt, torn and dirty. Michael dropped to his knees, clutching it to his chest. His son was alive, but trapped in the labyrinth of Ravenwood's darkest secret. They pushed deeper, guided by Rex's nose. Every step felt heavier, as if the tunnels themselves wanted to swallow them. Strange whispers echoed through the stone, though no one else was visible. Michael pressed his hand against the wall, warm, almost pulsing, like the earth itself was alive. Rex stopped suddenly, ears flicking. He let out a short bark, staring at a crack in the wall. Miller pried it open with a crowbar. Behind it lay a hidden alcove, lined with papers, maps, and old journals. Michael picked up a journal, its pages brittle. The handwriting was frantic. We built this place to protect, but they turned it into a prison. The experiments cannot be allowed to escape. Experiments. Miller frowned. This isn't just a storage site, it was a facility. Before they could study further, a sound rose from deeper in the tunnel. A scream. Jacob's voice. Michael's blood ran cold. He's close. Rex barked twice and bolted ahead. Miller and Michael chasing after. They found Jacob in a small chamber chained to a wall, eyes wide with fear. Beside him, two masked guards stood watch. Dad! Jacob cried. Michael surged forward, but Miller raised his weapon. The guards reacted quickly, pulling blades. Before Miller could shoot, Rex lunged, knocking one guard flat. The other swung, his knife wildly, but Rex dodged, teeth sinking into his arm. Michael smashed the chain's lock with his pipe, freeing Jacob. The boy collapsed into his arms, sobbing. But it wasn't over. The fallen guard blew a whistle, the shrill sound echoing. Footsteps thundered from every corridor. Miller growled, We have to move now! With Jacob between them and Rex guarding the rear, they sprinted into the darkness. The tunnels exploded with chaos. Masked men surged from every side, torches and weapons raised. Miller fired, his shots cracking like thunder. Michael swung his pipe desperately, shielding Jacob. Rex was everywhere, darting, snarling, tackling attackers with terrifying speed. At one point, a masked figure hurled a chain, wrapping it around Miller's arm. Before the man could pull him down, Rex leapt, jaws clamping on the chain, yanking it free. Miller roared, shoving the attacker back. The group pushed deeper, but the tunnels twisted endlessly. It was a maze designed to trap. Finally, they stumbled into a massive underground hall. At its center burned a colossal fire pit, flames licking toward the ceiling. The masked leader stood before it, arms raised. You cannot leave, he hissed. The boy is ours. The bloodline must continue. Michael tightened his grip on Jacob. Over my dead body. The leader's eyes glowed behind his mask. That can be arranged. The fight was brutal. Torches swung, flames roared, and shadows danced like demons. Miller emptied his magazine, fists flying once his gun clicked empty. Michael fought with raw desperation, protecting Jacob behind him. But the true force was Rex. The German shepherd moved like lightning, striking at the masked men with precision, knocking them off balance, forcing gaps in their ranks. Every snarl was a declaration, "You will not touch them." Still, the numbers were overwhelming. They were surrounded. The leader raised his arm. From the far end of the hall, a massive iron gate groaned open, revealing another passage, its air thick with the same chemical stench. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The fire cleanses. The boy's destiny is sealed." And with that, the masked men retreated into the smoke, leaving only the roaring pit of fire between the rescuers and their escape. Michael held Jacob close, trembling. What do they want with him?" Miller clenched his jaw. "Something ancient. Something tied to this town. But we're not letting them win." Rex barked once, sharply, staring at the iron gate. It was their only way forward. Together they stepped into the choking dark. The iron gate slammed shut behind them with a deafening clang, sealing them in. The air inside was heavy with damp stone and the acrid tang of chemicals. Jacob coughed against Michael's chest, burying his face to escape the sting in his lungs. Miller adjusted his flashlight. Its beam stretched forward, illuminating a vast corridor lined with pipes. Steam hissed from ruptured valves, filling the space with a low, sinister hum. Rex moved cautiously, nose close to the ground. His growls were soft but constant, a warning that danger was never far. Michael whispered, "How do we get out of here?" Miller's jaw tightened. "We follow Rex, he's our best chance." They pressed forward. The corridor widened into another chamber. This one wasn't carved from natural rock, it was man-made, reinforced with concrete walls and steel beams. Rusted warning signs dangled from broken chains. Biohazard. Restricted access. Michael felt a chill crawl down his spine. This isn't just some hideout. This was government. Miller nodded grimly. Or something worse. A project buried alive. Rex suddenly barked, startling them. He pawed at the ground near a grate. Miller shined his light. Beneath the grate lay black liquid bubbling slowly, like tar. The fumes rising from it stung their eyes. Michael pulled Jacob back. "What is that?" Miller frowned. Whatever it is, it was never meant to see daylight. In the next chamber, they discovered rows of rusted filing cabinets toppled over, papers scattered across the floor. Rex sniffed them curiously while Michael picked one up. It was a faded report stamped with a government seal. The words leapt out like poison. Subject: Ravenwood Containment Facility. Objective: secure chemical weapon prototypes. Secondary objective: monitor human adaptability trials. Michael's stomach turned. Trials? They were experimenting on people? Miller scanned another file. Volunteers, or maybe not. My God. Before they could read more, a low hum filled the chamber. Lights flickered on overhead, ancient bulbs that hadn't glowed in decades. Somewhere deep within the facility, a generator had come alive. Then came the voice. Distorted, echoing through unseen speakers. "You've walked too far into our veins. You carry the boy, but he belongs to the fire." Jacob whimpered, clutching his father's arm. "Dad, I don't want to go back." Michael hugged him tighter. "You're not going anywhere, son." Rex barked furiously at the ceiling, teeth bared. Miller raised his weapon. "They're watching us." Chapter 15. The pursuit of fire. Suddenly, metal doors at both ends of the chamber slid open. Masked figures poured in, armed with torches and crude weapons. The leader stepped forward again, his mask streaked with soot, his voice reverberating through the hall. "You cannot keep him. The boy is chosen. His blood binds him to Ravenwood." Michael's voice cracked with fury. "He's just a child. My child." The leader's reply was a hiss. "All flames are born small." The cultists surged forward. Miller opened fire, driving them back. Rex launched into the fray, slamming into one figure, dragging him down by the arm. The chamber erupted into chaos. Michael fought with desperation, wielding a metal pipe like a sword. Jacob stayed behind him, wide-eyed but silent, his small hands gripping the back of his father's coat. One cultist broke through, lunging for Jacob. Before Michael could react, Rex intercepted, slamming into the attacker's chest, knocking him flat. The dog snarled, holding him down until Miller delivered a finishing blow, but the numbers kept coming. Smoke filled the air. Flames licked at the old papers, consuming the facility's secrets. The leader's voice cut through the madness. "Run, if you dare, but the fire will follow." They broke free of the chamber, sprinting down narrow corridors as alarms blared overhead. The whole facility shook as though it were awakening after decades of slumber. Rex led them with unerring certainty, pulling toward passages no map could ever reveal. His paws splashed through puddles of black sludge, his ears swiveling at every sound. Behind them, the cultists pursued, their chants echoing, "The fire cleanses! The fire consumes!" Michael carried Jacob on his back, his body aching but his resolve unshaken. Emily's face flashed in his mind, her plea, her tears. He could not fail her. Miller cursed under his breath. "They're hurting us." Indeed, every turn they took seemed to funnel them downward deeper into the earth. And then, they arrived at a cavern unlike any they had seen. At its center stood a colossal furnace, its doors glowing red with heat. Chains dangled from the ceiling like skeletal vines. The air shimmered with unbearable heat. Michael's heart sank. "Dear God," Miller muttered. "This is it, their altar." The cult surrounded the furnace, their masks reflecting the firelight. The leader stood at the forefront, arms spread. "You have brought the boy to the flame. As it was written, so shall it be." Michael roared, "You'll never take him." Miller raised his weapon, but the leader only laughed. "Bullets mean nothing here. The fire has chosen." The cultists advanced. Rex barked savagely, stepping forward, his body low and ready to strike. Then something unexpected happened. The leader pulled off his mask. His face was burned, scarred beyond recognition. His eyes glowed with fanatical fire. "This town was built on ashes," he hissed. "I am only the keeper. But the boy, he is the spark." Michael clutched Jacob, tighter. "No, he's my son. That's all he is." The leader raised his arms. Flames roared higher, licking the ceiling. The cult chanted louder, their voices shaking the earth. Miller shouted, "Now or never. We fight." The battle was like nothing before. Cultists surged from all sides. Miller fired until his gun clicked empty, then swung it like a club. Michael fought with raw desperation, fueled by a father's love, and Rex. The German shepherd was everywhere at once. He launched into attackers with fearless precision, his teeth tearing masks away, his body striking like a battering ram. Every snarl, every lunge was a shield for Jacob, but the enemy was relentless. One cultist swung a chain at Michael. Another closed in on Jacob. Rex saw them both, and chose. With a thunderous bark, he leapt at the man with the chain, knocking him down. The chain wrapped around Rex's body, pulling tight. The dog yelped but refused to release his grip, dragging the attacker away from Michael. The second cultist reached for Jacob, only to be gunned down by Miller's last bullet. Smoke choked the chamber. Fire raged. The cult leader stepped closer, eyes locked on Jacob. "His destiny cannot be denied," Michael screamed. "No, you'll have to kill me first." The leader raised a blade, and Rex, bleeding but unbroken, launched himself one final time. The impact was brutal. Rex slammed into the leader, teeth sinking into his arm. The blade clattered to the floor. The leader shrieked, striking the dog, but Rex held on, dragging him toward the furnace. The cultists faltered, their chant breaking. For the first time, fear crossed their faces. Miller seized the chance. He shoved Michael and Jacob toward the exit. "Go! Now!" But Michael hesitated, watching in horror as Rex and the leader struggled dangerously close to the roaring furnace. "Rex!" Michael screamed. The leader bellowed, firelight reflecting in his mad eyes. If I burn, he burns with me. With one final surge of strength, Rex drove forward. The leader toppled, crashing into the furnace's open maw. Flames roared as his scream echoed, then vanished. The chamber shook violently. The furnace cracked, belching fire and smoke. The entire facility began to collapse. Michael sobbed, reaching toward Rex. The dog staggered back, burned and bloodied, but alive. He limped toward them, tail weakly wagging. Miller grabbed them all. Move. This place is coming down. They ran. Corridors crumbled behind them, fire chasing at their heels. The ground split, swallowing metal and stone. Rex pushed himself forward despite his wounds, guiding them unerringly toward a faint glimmer of light ahead. At last, they burst, through a shattered wall into the night air. The forest greeted them with cool wind, stars blazing above. Behind them, the ground heaved. The facility collapsed inward, consumed by its own inferno. Michael fell to his knees, clutching Jacob and Emily, who had run to meet them, tears streaming down her face. "We're here," he whispered. "We're safe." Miller stood nearby, chest heaving, watching the fire die in the distance. Ravenwood's secret is buried, for now. And Rex. The dog lay beside Michael, his breathing ragged. His fur was singed, his body trembling with exhaustion. Michael pressed his forehead to Rex's, tears falling. "You saved him. You saved all of us." Rex's eyes met his, filled with a quiet pride. His tail thumped once against the ground. Then, as dawn broke over Ravenwood, Rex closed. His eyes and the town gained a legend,